everyone lives some form of philosophy, right? But it may not be a conscious one. Everyone has, I mean, philosophy really answers the question, or tries to answer the question, how do I live a good life? What does a good life look like? But very, very few people, I think, really kind of think about that. They don't very often kind of start with this concept of, I've only got one of them, so I probably want to think about how to live it in the sort of best way possible. Those are really big, sort of scary questions. And I think that lots of people would have been familiar with kind of Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. I found that really helpful. Start with the concept to the end in mind. Like, you're lying on your deathbed, you have 30 seconds to impart some advice to one of your great-grandchildren. What do you say? Because ultimately what that's getting you to sort of think about is this concept of, what does a good life look like? How should I live? Those kind of questions. And I think they're inherently really scary. So people avoid them, and they don't sort of try and think about them. And one of the things that I found hugely helpful about Stoicism, or hugely valuable, is this kind of idea that so whatever created us incomplete. And part of your kind of mission in life, part of what you're about, is to kind of seek wisdom, to sort of dig underneath the surface, to understand your nature. What is it that makes you tick? And I read a fascinating book on evolutionary psychology by a guy called David Buss that really kind of digs into the detail and starts to make you challenge some things around kind of free will, but really helps you kind of understand and clarify that we are designed in such a way that was frankly really helpful and sort of, ultimately has kept our ancestors and the kind of chimps that came before us alive for the last sort of 50,000 years. A lot of that circuitry, a lot of that design, a lot of those mental programs still run in us today and cause us all kinds of problems in the modern world. The role in which sort of your culture, your environment shapes you. If you look at how, for example, people approach conflict, how they approach a disagreement with their spouse or partner, often I found that when you ask them the question around how did your parents argue? How did they fight? How did they engage in sort of conflict? Lots of people will go, oh my God, I basically behave exactly like my dad did when he was having an argument with my mum. And you're just sort of shining a spotlight onto huge amounts of the way you behave now are shaped by kind of what came before you, sort of positively and negatively. And I think the kind of first step in one of the most important steps a person can make in terms of their self-development is kind of understanding that and realizing that, I've got all of this stuff that sits underneath the surface like everyone else. If I can understand it, I can understand its kind of impact. I can be aware of it and realize how it has an impact on my decision-making, the way in which I live my life now. And I found that hugely valuable, really, again, helpful.
Yeah.